Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Knoll, and welcome back to another edition of the movie Battleground. This is the third matchup in our Summer Invitational tournament, and we hopefully have a bit of a different one tonight because the last two matchups, if you haven't seen them already, there's a playlist created for it on the channel. Go check them out. But they basically went the exact same way. We had two players coming in, both of whom were coming in off of losses, and they ended in a KO victory for one of those players. Well, tonight we got kind of the opposite of that. We got two guys who are coming in here off of wins, both looking to get that next win that'll put them on to the next round. Or, well, when they find out who their opponent is, and in the case of one of them, they kind of already know because of some behind-the-scenes things. Maybe they want to lose. I don't really know. But it's interesting. We have Amaru Moses versus Noah McCausland, and I'm not going to waste any more time. Introducing first, with a record of 3 wins and 1 defeat, he is Amaru Moses. Amaru, welcome back, sir. How you doing?
Unmute first. I'm doing well. If anybody knows the feeling of like you're waiting for that vacation to have some time off from work because you've been tired all the time, and then you actually get the time off and sitting around doing nothing, you're still tired. You're a little more tired. That's how I feel right now, which is actually a great feeling because I don't have to go to work, do nothing like that.
That's right.
But otherwise, I'm good. I'm excited for this. These questions are rough. They are extremely tough. I am expecting a battle on every single one because these are like razor thin choices for each one of these questions. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're the 11th entry in this tournament, and as we kind of discussed, you're here by popular demand. For anyone who doesn't know behind the scenes, there were multiple players who at different points were in contention for possibly not being able to play in the tournament, and so I told them that they would have the option of picking who replaced them. And I think it was like every single person I spoke to except for one person had you in like their list of 2 or 3 people they wanted to get in here. So I eventually just decided to send you an invite anyways, because people like you, I'm sure any random Schmodown fan who tunes in, thanks by the way for the views, they're going to like you. And here you are. So are you ready to go?
I am, and I feel very honored to be thought about in this and given this opportunity. So I appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sit you in the back just for a moment to introduce your opponent. Coming in with a record of 2 wins, 2 defeats, and 1 knockout freshly earned, he is Noah McLovin McCausland. Noah, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Just like Amaru, I'm coming off of a nice little break. I recently got married. So that's a thing, coming back from my honeymoon. But I'm ready to get rolling into it. I'm ready to put in the work.
I was going to say, I can say this confidently because we live in the same state. I'm sure the weather was much nicer on that honeymoon than it is right now.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
But yeah, man. So yeah, you come into this, obviously you're coming off the back of a victory. I know the feeling was a little weird in the moment, but it is a knockout victory. It is something to be proud of. Does that give you any fucking words, Jesus. Does it give you any added extra confidence going into this?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good to
know. Just because of the caliber that Amaru is on, I went up against the current champion right now, and he absolutely destroyed me. Granted, that was my first match, and I've done a lot of growing since then. This is kind of how I'm looking at it, as it's kind of like the proving grounds for me. Like, this is the match, I'm not looking at it as, I have to win this to prove myself. I'm looking at it, I have to get at least 1 point to be able to prove to myself that I know what I'm doing, kind of.
That is true. Both losses that you have been knockouts. So statistically speaking, every time you've scored a point, you have won. So take that for what it will. But we will see what happens tonight, man. I'm going to go ahead and bring Amaru back in.
First, congratulations. Second, don't downplay yourself, man. You're good.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Battleground is a best of 5 rounds of first to 3 points win. Each round of the debate is going to be worth 1 point. If a competitor does happen to get 3 points in a row, that is a victory by knockout. Noah, you're familiar with those, both good and bad. I can say that now and not feel bad. If it is a 2-2 tie at the end of the 4 rounds, we do have a 5th round. That is called the blind round. Rue, it's your best friend. We'll see it again, maybe. Going into the actual debate, so these guys were given 4 questions. They've had the chance to prepare them. The way this is going to work is they will each get 60 seconds to open up. That will be followed by a 2-minute chance to expand and kind of pitch their side of the argument. Then there will be a 4-minute open discussion where we'll go back and forth, trade as many blows as possible to get those points in. And at the end of it all, we have a 60-second closing argument to finalize and kind of surmise their stance, so to speak. Afterwards, at the moment, we do have 2 judges in the back, and Chad Webb and Chris Diaz. We might have a third joining us. I guess we'll see what happens. That'll be a surprise for you guys if it does. But if we don't have a third judge with us, I will be serving as a tiebreaker vote should we need it. With that said, are you guys ready to go?
Let's do this.
Let's go.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into it, and we're going to start off because every summer at this point is kind of like franchise city. Every single summer, all the major franchises are sticking out their biggest, newest things. I mean, this summer already, we just had Jurassic Park or World, whatever you want to call it, put out their latest film in Dominion. At least you made money. Lightyear released into theaters, a spin-off to the Toy Story franchise. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick surprised everyone by being good, let alone as good as it is. And we have another one coming up this week, I believe, if my memory serves correctly for when this released. We have Minions: The Rise of Gru, which is a movie that's been on hold for about 2 years, and I'm excited for it about as much as I can be for a movie that's been on hold for 2 years.
That's not the one I was thinking of, but...
Oh, I'm sure there's others. So we're going to take it back about 5 years to the last time I think they released a Despicable Me film, because the third one came out in like 2017, right? Am I wrong about that? I don't fucking know. I don't care.
Who knows?
So the question's going to be, what was the best franchise entry released in 2017? So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So behind the scenes, Noah, because you were seated higher in the tournament, you were considered the favorite, so you had the choice of which questions to go first on.
I don't fucking lie, but you know.
Because he was 11th, he was the last person in. That's how numbers work. You chose to go first on 2 and 4, so Rue, you are up first on this question. I will bring in your timer and disappear into the back, and your time will start when you begin speaking.
Best of luck, Rue.
When you think of one of the best trilogies, franchises, or at least set of a franchise of all time, one of the first things you think of recent years is the recent set of Planet of the Apes films. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was pretty good. Not bad. It was a great, definitely better than that Burton thing that came out. And then Dawn came out. And Dawn was like, damn, they are taking this seriously. Andy Serkis is killing it. So when it came to the finale, War for the Planet of the Apes, you're like, they have a lot to live up to. And damn, did they live up to it? War for the Planet of the Apes is my choice here because not only does it finish off and deliver on really, really high expectations, but it also somewhat serves as a movie that isn't dependent on the other ones to be as brilliant as it is. That certainly elevates it, but just it is everything. And I will go into more about why it's everything in my next segment.
All right, Noah, over to you, sir. 1 minute on the clock.
Muted.
Yes, you are. Sorry.
A telltale sign that a movie is not only good, but great, one that transcends the genre it is in and film in general, is when critics and general audiences agree in the quality of the film. This is true of James Mangold's Logan. He learned from Wolverine, and with an R rating that contributes to the film rather than being a distraction, he creates a movie beyond just being a comic book film and a Western film. Logan does not achieve greatness by virtue of its brutal and bloody violence. Its depiction of carnage and prevalence of F-words and its grim tone speak merely to elements of style. Instead, Logan achieves its greatness by the way director James Mangold blends emotion, mythology, narrative, and mise-en-scene into an impressive and moving whole. Mangold's fusion of several genres, road movie, post-apocalyptic, actioner, superhero yarn, and most of all Western, places the character in a world that feels like a child of Cormac McCarthy and Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, making this the best franchise entry in 2017, and honestly one of the best films of the year. I'll concede my 8 seconds.
All right. We got War for the Planet of the Apes versus Logan. Not that this matters to anyone, but for what it's worth, in my own personal top 10 of 2017, these are the only two films that belong to franchises. So for what it's worth, they picked the right choices. Rue, back over to you, sir.
When it comes from War for the Planet of the Apes, it starts out just an emotional gut punch, getting the stakes as high as they possibly can by killing off Caesar's wife and child, a child that was a key part to the movie before, right away, making you really know that the villain of this film is absolutely dead on going to be pound for pound as great as Andy Serkis is, and Woody Harrelson is the absolute best Woody Harrelson that we get almost ever in any film. And for movies to be great, they're usually made even better by the fact that their villain is one of the greatest, is just automatic great villains. Going from there, Noah mentioned that Logan has so many different genres. Well, War for the Planet of the Apes does the same thing. The thing with Logan, though, it only feels like a Western, and then it tries to have sci-fi elements. War for the Planet of the Apes, when it's a Western looking for revenge, it's a Western. When it's a sci-fi flick, it's a sci-fi flick. When it's a character study, it's a character study. When it's an action film, it's an action film. When it's a war film, when it's war film. And Matt Reeves finds a way to make all of those things blend together while distinctly also separate at the same time. This movie is not wholly dependent on the previous two movies to make it as great as it is. What we get in Logan, especially the acting between the two main characters, a lot of that comes from the fact that we've had them for 17 years. And if we didn't have them for 17 years, a lot of the emotional things we see from that would not hit as hard, because yes, they're acting amazingly, but a lot of that comes from there. We've only got Andy Serkis for 2 films prior to this, and he's not even on screen. He's mocap, and you see the emotional resonance that he goes through. He's the one that makes you want to argue that mocap deserves Oscars. The acting is amazing on all fronts. The story is brilliant. The emotion is there. The war kicks in when it needs to kick in. The direction is absolutely beautiful, and there isn't a lull in any part of the film or a downplay, which Logan has 2. 2 I will get into in the next round.
All right, that is time. Noah, back over to you, sir. 2 minutes.
Yes, we'll get it out of the way. War for the Planet of the Apes looks amazing. I'm going to refer to it as War now. The visual effects are stunning, and the mocap work done by Andy Serkis is once again perfect. But we saw it in Lord of the Rings, and the visual effects alone in one amazing performance doesn't make a movie great or the best entry. While War was nominated for an Oscar in visual effects, which it earns, Logan was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. And when it comes to which one's better, cinema's always great when story is placed above visual effects. But you don't even have to worry about that in Logan either, because Logan looks amazing. Laura is terrifying while murking men left and right, and it looks completely real. The color grading and the landscape shots are great, and that whole chasing in the forest in the end is gripping. In terms of story, the story facilitates a much simpler chase from point A to point B, during which the film explores the characters and their deeply felt familial bonds. It's predominantly a character study through which Stewart and Keane explore their roles in unexpected and profoundly touching ways. The film explores Logan's enduring issues through poignant scenes that chew the rustic scenery and channel the classic mythology of Westerns, while also demonstrating that, sadly, Logan's past does not go unpunished. Mangold follows that this constant with violence that has consequences. When Logan's claws enter someone, the result is blood and detached body parts, and when characters we love eventually die, their deaths are not pretty or romanticized. This is a brutal, unrelenting film that finally represents the character and all his implied savagery. And what's more, Jackman has never been better. War parallels this movie in a bad way. While both movies draw on past and different genres, War draws too much liberally from canonical war films like Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket, The Great Escape, Gladiator, larding its narrative with wink-wink references that only a first-year film student would love. The overuse of biblical references, and boy do they overuse it, out of desperation to establish allegorical significance for Caesar and a deeper meaning for the film that falls flat. Whether it's his fellow apes asking, what would Caesar do in his absence, or he leads his people across punishing terrain to a promised land, Caesar has been aligned with Jesus and Moses, complete with an uplifting finale into the clouds, reminiscent of one's last year equally overwrought Hacksaw Ridge. That association becomes inescapable when apes finally appear on crucifixes towards the end.
And time. And if anybody would like a history lesson breakdown of these two movies, right fucking there. Well done, gentlemen. That was excellent. We're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. I am so curious to see what comes next. Guys, you have 4 minutes on the clock. Time starts when the first competitor speaks.
All that allegory makes for an extremely compelling story, and that story is front and center in War. You go through Caesar's absolute flaws throughout the film. When he kills, I can't remember if it's Red or if it's the other one, but when he accidentally kills, he's going out for revenge. It's a revenge story front and center. Woody's blind rage, going into the twist that you didn't even realize he's not actually a part of the government. He's doing this on his own. You didn't know. They made a dude who Caesar saved earlier in the film still feel complicated and resonant in Preacher, a side character you didn't even expect, coming out being so strong. And you're talking about, we saw Circus do this before, and these performances of Lord of the Rings. Arguably, Toby Kebbell in the flashbacks, Woody Harrelson, and kind of steal the show a little bit from him. And it's hard to do when every single one is top notch. You want to talk about focusing too much on other stuff. Logan is Shane. It legitimately shows Shane in the movie. If you want to go there, we can go there. And the crucifix is not going to the allegory. The crucifix is running it back to 1968's Planet of the Apes, which was already there. This movie has absolutely everything. And the story in front and center is because the war doesn't even come into the last 30 minutes and you're engrossed the entire time.
That's what I want to talk about. In a story, in a movie called War, there's only one battle scene between apes and humans, and it's that beginning sequence. And that, I'll give it to you. That sequence is a great sequence. That battle is amazing. There's no talking, and then all these attacks everywhere. But that's pretty much it until the ending sequence, and it's just humans against humans. You don't really get that war that this movie is advertising. It's just Caesar going on a revenge quest, and that's pretty much the movie.
Expectations kill your experience. If you're going in expecting something and not taking in what is being given to you, you're going to lower the movie and not realize that, yes, it's called War. Yes, you actually only get it in the beginning and the end, but from front to back, you are engrossed the entire time and you don't care. The twist that it's humans versus humans shows why a movie like Planet of the Apes is would go there. Why apes actually need to take over. Why it would be the precursor to the 1968 movies. And as part of that, they don't even focus on the humans at that point. They focus on the escape of the apes, how Preacher decidingly is still the human piece of shit by still actually shooting Caesar, and the donkey changing sides and helping blow up the cater, and help saving him after working for the humans the whole time. From front to back, War is absolutely amazing. And Logan is great. And these movies are here to here. The problem with Logan is it's too long, as seen in the scene with Eric LaSalle and that family. And it has a really, really horrible, bad villain in the X-24 coming up. Being just not just a turn for what a great villain could be.
I want to bring this up because the villain is neither the X-24, I believe, or Grant's character or Hoyt Bulbrook's character. It's neither of those. The villain in this movie is time. That's the real villain. You see how much damage that time has done to Logan. I'm not talking just physically. I'm talking emotionally. You know, the reason why he's so grim and why he's so rough in this movie is because has to live through his entire past of hurting people, of killing people, of doing all this damage. And finally, this physical toll is coming up on him. He's not healing anymore. He's receiving these wounds. Time is the villain here, and it's not just Boyd Holbrook's character. It's an exceptionally well-crafted picture, full of emotion, thematic substance, incredible performances. You're saying that it's too long, and there's scenes that aren't needed. That scene with the family on the farm, it shows that he's trying to be this good character. He's trying to be this nice person, but everywhere he goes, everyone who's around him ends up dead and killed and hurt because of him.
And time. All right, we have 1 minute left to close out this round. Amaru, back over to you, sir. 1 minute left.
If the villain of Logan is time, why spend the second half of the movie introducing the clone when Boyd Holbrook was doing perfectly fine, being the thing that Logan has no time to fight against? Why bring him in? Why bring Richard E. Grant in? Half of the movie, you add those two villains that really bring nothing to it and actually makes you see like, oh, this clone is bringing this down. And the clone and the Richard E. Grant is what makes it longer. The scene with the family was great until they really started focusing on that clone and Richard E. Grant's relationship. And then the slightly too long period of time with the kids afterwards and not speeding that up. All of that killed it. When War for the Planet of the Apes is perfectly paced throughout the time, it is emotionally scarring from beginning to end. It ends two amazing battle scenes with emotional stakes, with brilliant performances in between, flawed characters from human and ape size, amazing performances, and Andy Serkis carrying this film with Toby Kebbell and Woody Harrelson to a place you didn't expect, but you absolutely love.
And time. All right, we are going to go back over to Noah. Final minute of the round, sir, when you begin speaking.
I'll give you another reason why that scene isn't wasted, because you get a great scene with Patrick Stewart's giving this monologue to reveal the X-24. You get that very emotional scene where he's revealing all this stuff. The other two films in the Apes franchise work because there wasn't anything like it. This film is part Great Escape, part Cool Hand Luke, 10 Commandments, Hogan's Hero, Apocalypse Now, Dirty Dozen, Last Castle, and part Bible, really. It's okay if a movie is part something, but if you take that and become something new, that's when it becomes a great movie. The Apes movie does not do that. This movie undermines Caesar intelligence from the other two movies when he doesn't recognize that clearly dangerous events are happening, like in the beginning in the cave scene when his family is killed. He doesn't recognize, oh, those are lasers, those are men coming to kill us. Especially towards the final act of the movie, the war part fully comes into play. It's a movie called War, and the only ape versus human battle is in the first scene. Logan is a perfectly paced, well-captured picture full of emotion, all in a franchise that often feels scattershot. He draws on tradition to create something new, exciting, and sometimes brutal to watch.
And time. All right. That's one of the best fights I've seen in a while. Truly excellent, gentlemen. May the fate be what it be. I'm going to go ahead and set you guys in the back and bring our judges in. So I'll give you guys a moment to finalize some thoughts with just a couple of quick fact checks here. So for starters, it's interesting that the War for Planet of the Apes comes up at this time, because at least at the time of recording this match, earlier this week, it was announced that they are actually moving forward with a fourth film in that franchise. A lot of people had assumed that they were done after 3. However, it was announced this week that a fourth film titled The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is set to begin filming in August. Tentatively, this would be the start of a second trilogy, which would be helmed by Wes Ball, who is best known for being the director of the 3 Maze Runner films. For what it's worth, when talking about audience comparison versus critic comparison, both of these movies are pretty well received. Logan has a 94% like rating on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and a 90% from audiences. War for the Planet of the Apes has an identical 94% from critics and 84% from audiences. Both of these films were nominated for only one single Academy Award. Logan's did come in the form of screenplay, as written by Scott Frank, James Mangold, and Michael Green. It was credited as Best Adapted Screenplay since it is technically based on comics. War for the Planet of the Apes was nominated for Best Visual Effects that year. Neither won the award they were nominated for. And honestly, in both cases, I'd argue they probably should have. In Logan, the character's name you were looking for, X-24 is the young version of Hugh Jackman in that film. Boyd Holbrook plays Pierce, and Richard E. Grant plays Dr. Xander Rice. And in terms of runtime, again, pacing is a totally different thing, but if we're talking about runtime, these movies are actually almost identical in runtime. Logan is 2 hours and 17 minutes. War for the Planet of the Apes is 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now, again, the pacing of a film is subjective, but I just thought I'd bring it up since it was mentioned. With all that said, though, Chris, I go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
That's a tough argument. I would say that we're back and forth. The end, it came to me during the debate round between the two of them. I just felt by a slim margin, Marvel pulled it out to the end. Like he just gave more example. He was able to battle. He had Logan bring out the weakness villain, talk about rehearsing, the battle itself, and everything. I just felt I wish it never came close in the closing, but I wish he had done more in the debate round itself. Debating about it.
Okay. Chad, over to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Yeah, I just want to say I know Noah likes to beat himself up a lot, but this was a neck and neck, like titan fight right here. Two great movies that they both had to argue against, which is freaking hard as hell. And trying to judge this is insanely hard because they both were back and forth so much, like countering, levying a thing, countering, and just it was so I had to try to nitpick my best here. I like, what Noah said about the screenplay being great for his, but then Amaru had so much passion about, his film. I like what he talked about, Andy Serkis, and the pacing is really great. I just think maybe Noah, so I went Amaru. The reason why is because I think Noah didn't have enough, I think convincing knocks against Ruse, where he just was trying to come up with a bunch of different things to say that war is derivative, but then Ruse said the same thing about his with Shane and stuff like that, and I felt like Ruse was just a tad bit stronger. So Amaru.
All right, so that'll be the first point. Thank you, judges. I'm gonna go ahead and sit you guys in the back, as we will go ahead and move on to round number 2.
If this is how it's going to go, I do not envy you all in the back judging this. Not at all.
All right. Well, let's see if you can bring that same exact level of passion to this second question. Because as I mentioned, this week, again, if my memory serves correct, I think it does, because the second match uploaded this week, which means the third one would be, coming out this week, we have Illumination's Minions: The Rise of Gru. And Illumination is an animated film company. That would be the best way to describe them. I think they are absolutely brilliant at making 6 out of 10 movies almost damn consistently. It really is. There's not a lot of trash. Hop is really bad, but other than that, I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of trash. They're just all mediocre. But what is the one that rises above? The question here is, what is the most underrated film by Illumination Entertainment? I don't know if that's the actual name of the company anymore, but that's what I found. I think they've changed it. But either way, I think it's just Illumination. But Illumination, we know who it is. It's the Despicable Me guys. And we'll go ahead and get into it. Noah, you are up first this time around, so I'll bring the timer in for you, and it will start when you begin speaking.
Just like Aaron said, the Despicable Me guys. When you say Illumination, you immediately think of Despicable Me, Minions, and God help me, maybe even Secret Life of Pets. But it seems like everyone forgets the underrated Sing. With an exceptional voice cast, performance of songs, and combination of relatable characters, Sing is criminally underrated and buried under the popularity of anything Minions. Now, I'm not arguing that this film is the best that Illumination has to offer, but there is no way it deserves to be overlooked and ranked as though it is. Most rankings have it sometimes The Grinch over it, as well as Secret Life of Pets, Despicable Me 2, and Despicable Me. I'll agree with the number 1 ranking. Sing is way better than it gives it credit for. And honestly, it's got a voice cast that really lets everyone down. Not lets everyone down, but everyone forgets about. And I'll just concede that 15 seconds.
All right, go ahead and bounce it forward slightly. All right, there we go. Amaru, you are up next, sir, when you begin speaking.
When I heard this question and picked my choice, I based it off of a question I asked myself afterwards. When you think of great, amazing animated sequels, Toy Story 2, Shrek 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Toy Story 3, the one movie that never, ever, ever gets mentioned is a movie that is better than the original and slips under the rankings because Illumination feels like 6 out of 10 movies, as he said, and that's Despicable Me 2. This question, like every other question, this entire debate is going to be literally, here's why Noah is correct, here's why I'm correct by a very, very slight margin, and that very slight margin is because of the fact that I would argue just about every single Illumination movie is rated properly. Not overrated, not underrated, except Despicable Me 2, because it deserves to be up there with some of the greatest sequels of all time, animated-wise, and it never, ever, ever is mentioned. It's actually pretty forgotten in those lists.
All right, we're going to be going into the 2-minute area. Noah, you have dibs first.
There's a reason why it never gets talked about, and there's a reason why it's below Despicable Me. The best compliment you can give to Despicable Me 2 is may also explain why it doesn't get a higher grade here. It's a slight, mass appealing fun. It's also the reason that it's overrated. The first act of Despicable Me 2 is so winning and engaging that it's almost a tragedy how the rest of the film falls into bargain basement formula. The film all but collapses under the burden of cliche and poorly established contrivance. Lucy is seen in the beginning as a smart, capable, and badass secret agent, but is arbitrarily turned into a would-be love interest for Gru as she is slowly stripped away of all of her agency to the point of being a helpless damsel in distress by the film's climax. Further eye-rolling occurs as the film spends nearly the entire second act dealing with the eldest daughter, Margot, randomly getting a crush on the son of a prime suspect. This leads to a little more than stripping a major female character of all independent agency after boys get involved. So what we get is a terrific female character who ends up being a token love interest for the male lead, while a smart, capable oldest daughter ends up losing her brains over a random boy. This is a film that doesn't even care about exploring the very story it's created. And once the evildoer is revealed, there's absolutely no discussion about how his or her choices will impact their current life, nor any thought given to the choices said character has made, and or how it will contrast to Gru's choices in the previous film and now in this one. Singh works with his characters so well, it lets you know that Buster Moon will be hard to love in the very beginning, but he's still so charismatic and always tries to be positive that you can't help but like him. You have parallel stories about Johnny and Buster dealing with living up to and escaping the shadow of their fathers to be their own man. Mina pushes through the fear of failure and criticism to release her talent. Rosita tries to find a life passion balance, and Ash gets out of a toxic relationship to make it her own. Other characters, while flat and not integral to the story like Mike the Mouse, are still done relatively well because of the voice casting. It's perfectly paced. In a movie titled Sing, you get what you came for with incredible performances. While majority of them are covers and you get 2 original songs, one rock song performed by Ashley's Electric, another performed by Stevie Wonder and Ariana Grande that's just so catchy. Oh, and it doesn't rely on minions to make this movie fun and enjoyable.
And time. All right, I'm going to read back over to you, sir. 2 minutes on the clock when you're ready.
What Despicable Me 2 ends up doing, it ends up taking everything that you really loved from the original film. They stick the focus on Gru because Gru is a really great character. But what was really, really even better was all the side characters around him. The Minions, which got their own movie, as silly as it is, them tagged along had always been great. Russell Brand's Dr. Nefario is absolutely hilarious. And the 3 little girls coming together and giving and at all times are just so fluffy. They're so amazingly adorable. And what Despicable Me 2 is actually allows them to shine even more. So while Gru is still a star of the show, everybody else comes together and is given a bigger part, a better part that you enjoy more, you have more fun with. You're talking about Lucy going to the side. She actually fits way better as they see that when her and Gru are together, they are actually an amazing team. That's what you get from that love story. You don't get it as a damsel in distress. Dr. Nefario leaving him at the beginning and then coming back and changing his ways to give the Minions, not only turn them into villains, but find a way to switch them back, giving them more to do. And the girls are teenagers, and it's an animated movie. Of course they're going to have a crush, but what do they end up doing at the end? They end up coming together with everybody and saving Gru and Lucy. So they all have a part to play to make it a better film. When it comes to Sing, I absolutely love Sing, and I think it's amazing, and I think it is perfectly rated. I think it is rated exactly where it should be. It as a very fun time, extremely likable, great music hits. And that is what I have seen that everybody else sees it as. Maybe it's not in the list because Sing is one of the first properties that is a brand new property on its own, while Despicable Me came out first, and everything else that's more popular is building off of the success of something that was already there. Sing came in and did more critical damage, more word of mouth damage than Secret Life of Pets or anything else that they tried to do. Sing is the one that actually pushed through because it's rated exactly where it needs to be. A great time that doesn't go that much time.
All right, you're good there. All right. We're going to move into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start when the first person speaks.
I'm not even saying that Sing is better than Despicable Me or even Despicable Me 2. I think Despicable Me 2 is a good movie. I think it's properly rated, maybe even a tad bit overrated. What I'm saying is Sing does not deserve to be rated as low as it is. It does not deserve to be as low as Grinch or below Secret Life of Pets. It deserves to be right there. Despicable Me 2, Sing. It does not deserve the hate, and not even the hate, but the ignorance of the movie altogether. You know, everyone forgets about Hop. That's fine. Everyone forgets about Sing, but Sing is actually a decent movie. It's a fun movie with great performances. Taron Egerton singing that Elton John song is absolutely amazing, and probably was his audition for Rocket Man.
The funny thing is, I think we're actually arguing the same thing for our movies. And my thing is, I don't think that Sing is forgotten. And for two reasons I never use, except for in this part, it actually works because it's got around 71% Rotten Tomatoes critic score, which shows that the critics actually thought it was a great time. But more so, usually box office doesn't work. Usually box office doesn't say anything about the quality or the rate. But when it comes to underrated, the reason I say it is rated exactly right is because people talk about it. People know this movie. They tell their other people to go see this movie because it made $690 million worldwide, meaning it had legs. It isn't front-loaded. People went to go see this movie, a brand new movie, and had enough legs to say, yo, you need to go see it. You need to go see it. You need to go see it, both critically and monetarily. So people know about this film so much so it got a sequel. An original project that got a sequel. People know this movie. They like this movie a lot. They understand it's not the absolute best thing in the world, but it's enough that we want to go see it. And I believe it's perfectly rated, while Despicable Me 2 is never mentioned as a great sequel or a best animated sequel ever.
Well, you're talking about other sequels that a movie should have done. Secret Life of Pets got a sequel. I don't even believe that one got a sequel at all. I don't believe it should have gotten a sequel, and yet it did. Sing 2 definitely deserved a sequel, and it got one, thank goodness. But it deserves to be definitely higher rated than Secret Life of Pets. You want to talk about box office? Despicable Me brought in $970.8 million. If that's not perfectly rated, if that's not overrated, I don't know what is. That movie is it's very close to a reach of the first one of Gru the girls saving Gru, basically. Gru is this evil person, and he adopts these girls, and they save his life. And that's kind of what happens in the second one. You get more minion action, you get more jokes, all that kind of stuff. You brought up Rotten Tomatoes. Despicable Me 2 got a 75 and 85 as on Rotten Tomatoes, respectively, for critics and audience. Saying the same thing that you are. It's equally liked. It's well liked. It earned way more money than Sing did. Again, I'm not trying to say that Sing is better than this movie. I think Despicable Me 2 is a better movie, but it's definitely underrated. I don't hear anyone talking about it nowadays. No one's talking about it. Everyone's just talking about Minions, Despicable Me.
Everybody's talking about Minions because it's coming out. That's it. Secret Life of Pets got a sequel because it made $875 million. Of course they're going to greenlight that sequel. But I think everybody knows Sing is I consider Sing better than Despicable Me 2. I would watch that movie more than I would see Despicable Me 2.
Don't see my argument and use it against me.
I think it's great. I think it's great. But I never hear what I'm saying is I think everybody knows that it is extremely enjoyable, extremely lovable, and the money that it made showed that it got word of mouth. What Despicable Me 2 never gets is on that list of best sequels of all time. And it's never thought of. When everything else is mentioned before that, and Despicable Me 2 deserves to be in that list, and it's not, that's how I say that one is overrated.
And time. All right, we are on to the final minute of the round. Noah, you are up first, sir. Time starts when you begin speaking.
There's a reason it's not on that list of on animated sequels. How to Train Your Dragon 2, Paddington 2, Kung Fu Panda 2, Toy Story 2, Shrek 2. These are all absolutely amazing, astounding sequels that do way better than the first movie in terms of story. This one doesn't really do anything new. Again, like I said, with the female characters, it doesn't really do too much with them except for establish Lucy as this great agent and then strips all that away from her. It doesn't really do anything new in terms of story. Oh no, there's a bad guy that we have to defeat somehow, and then Minions action. Franchises are born more from box office success than creativity necessity. And this sequel, Despicable Me 2, has only a fraction of the originality demonstrated by its predecessor. It doesn't deserve to be on that list with other animated sequels because the story just isn't there. The characters aren't just there. The voice casting may be great, but it's not as great as a voice cast for Sing, which is amazing. And you get some amazing performances and songs, which is what you want to see in a movie titled Sing.
And time. All right, Amaru, back over to you, sir. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Despicable Me 2 deserves to be in that list of greatest animated sequels of all time because it is better than the original by taking the characters that you grew to love in the original one and giving them more to do and making them on equal footing as the main star and Gru. The story itself is different. It actually takes the next logical step. While in the first one, it's an evildoer who gets saved by these little girls. The next step is his life was evil. What is he going to do with his life? And him trying to find out what to do with it and really wanting to go back to evil doing and going through that conflict, making that story, you connect to him more to make him more well-rounded. And the fact that it is better than the original makes it underrated because people forgot how much fun and lovability and how much more of a better story it is. While your movie, Sing, is rated exactly where it's supposed to be because everybody understands it's not a extremely amazing depth movie, but it does what it's supposed to do. It's a lot of fun. It has great singing and voice casting. And the fact that everybody told their friends and family to go see it shows that people rate it fairly high.
And time. All right, guys, thank you so much.
God damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Illumination, if you want to use this for marketing, that's the most passion in which anyone has ever spoken about your movies, then that's a fucking fact. All right, I'm going to go ahead, except for me when I talk about how Minions put me to sleep in the theaters. That's also a fact. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back and bring in our judges. Chad looks like he's making a major life decision. Chris was just really excited there. So I'm going to give these guys a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and read off some fun facts here that I found. So when talking about Illumination ranked, I went to 3 different sources to get an idea. I used Rotten Tomatoes, of course, for what it's worth. Both their percentages were correct. I also used reporting sites Cinema Blend and Movie Phone. They created lists to rank the films just to see where they come in. So with Movie Phone's list, it was put together for the release of Secret Life of Pets 2. So there's only 9 films on it. Despicable Me 2 was ranked 7 of 9, and Sing was actually ranked first on that list of 9 films. When you go to Cinema Blend, Despicable Me 2, this was created last year for Sing 2. Cinema Blend ranks Despicable Me 2 in 6th place, and they rank Sing in 4th place out of then 10 films. And then when you take all 11 films into account on Rotten Tomatoes, Sing comes in 4th place, and Despicable Me 2 does come in 2nd place. For what it's worth, with the exception of that Movie Phone list where obviously Sing came first, Despicable Me was consistently the highest ranked film, coming first, and 2nd, and Hop was last placed on all of them. Seriously, that movie sucks. Don't go watch that. Moving on to other things, the Elton John song you were looking for, sang by Taron Egerton, is I'm Still Standing. Also, for what it's worth, he has spoken about it publicly. That his performance in that movie is in fact what drew Elton John to him. They also worked together on Kingsman: The Golden Circle, in which Elton John had a cameo. and it was said meeting on that movie was what convinced Elton John to want to have Taron Egerton to play him. Sing did make $634 million at the box office, that is worldwide. Despicable Me 2 made $970 million, although, again, for what it's worth, one is original, one is a sequel, but they both come from a studio where it is well known. Now, the last thing here is when talking about animated sequels, both the term animated sequels and best sequels of all time were thrown around. In terms of best sequels of all time, basically any list I can sort of did not bring up Despicable Me 2 if we're talking about general sequels. However, if you want to go to just animated sequels, I consulted 4 different sites. Screen Crush had a best 15 animated sequels of all time. Despicable Me 2 did not make that list. However, they included Looney Tunes Back in Action, which is just barely an animated film. It's funny, but it's barely an animated film, so take that for what you will. However, on the other 3 sources, Screen Rant created a top 10 list based off IMDb ratings. Despicable Me 2 did make that list. MovieWeb's list of top 10 animated sequels, Despicable Me 2 came ranked at 5th place as the 5th best animated sequel of all time. And on Cinema Blend's list, it came in at 7th place in the top 10. So it depends on how you're looking at it. If we're talking all time, I could not find a source that says so, but if we're discussing just animated films, it does seem to show up pretty regularly. With that said, though, I've given you guys enough time. Chad, I'm going to go to you as concise as you can get it for me. Who gets your vote and what sold you?
Yeah, I mean, they both spent like a lot of time, just talking about like, box office and stuff like that, because naturally it's an underrated question. So you're trying to prove that yours is more underrated, but it seems like they both films made a lot of money. Both films are talked about, it seems, about evenly. I think Noah was trying to say that, you just don't think about like, Sing when you think about Illumination, stuff like that. And I think like the countering and the, everything was just so even on this question as well. The big thing that sold me though, is that, Amaru like shot for the stars saying that Despicable Me 2 should be like up there with some of like the best of like Pixar and stuff like that, which is a fine thing. If you can like defend that. And I think he did a good job talking about the secondary characters were elevated in this one and stuff, but I feel like Noah did a really good job with the quality of this. I think bringing it a little bit down for like the rating by saying that they took some of the characters and like made them kind of worse in the second by like giving them a crush to dote on and stuff like that. Like they made the female characters a little bit worse in this one. I don't know if that's accurate. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I went with Noah because I thought he had some good takedowns there.
All right, Chris, I go down to you as concise as you can get it for me. Who gets your vote and what sold you?
So this was a little confusing debate because I felt like they were more talking about which film is better than like underrated. But I felt like just trying to Tiny Slim, while I think Noah did bring up the whole like, the character being worse, we were kind of about A, the teenager, B, she's the whole everything we brought counter. Yeah, we at late talk about it being underrated for me late and most enough that I thought wanted to debate to the end. So I went the opposite direction.
All right, which means it'll come down to me. And yeah, I think these guys both did a good job. I think their arguments eventually, once they got all their points out, by the time they were in the open discussion, I think their arguments did kind of fall to the same place, which is fair. I mean, I opened this with making a joke about how all their movies are 6 out of 10s. It's kind of the commonplace with what we're shooting for here. So really for me, where the round was won was in the 2-minute period. And I think if we're discussing, specifically when they're talking about the quality of the film, I think that Noah did a better job on selling me the quality of Sing's characters versus talking about the quality of Despicable Me 2. And then I don't think Amaru's defense is quite held up to what Noah said. He also didn't really hit back at the quality of the film. But then also when you talk about the recognition of it, both films are similarly rated. Both films have the box office, but Noah did do a good job of basically selling the fact that Despicable Me, because it has the iconography of the Minions, it is instinctively the first thing you think of, whereas Sing is not thought of as quickly. So that mixed with selling the quality of the film is what gives him the point in my eyes. Definitely a tough argument from both of these guys, but a well-fought one. So I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back and bring the competitors back in as we will move on to question number 3 tonight.
Good shit.
So we will go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. We will stop talking about things that are coming out this week. I promise I won't give you guys another Illumination-related question. Instead, let's talk about something related to a movie that's never going to come out. What's it now? The end of 2023? We're going to talk about Mission Impossible. Now, this is a franchise that over the course of the 2010s, with its last 3 entries specifically, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout, has become one of these top beloved action franchises. It's been like a 3rd or 4th injection into Tom Cruise's career. What he's done on these movies has shaped what he's done on other films. I mean, we talked about Top Gun Maverick earlier. I'd most certainly say that if he hadn't done what he'd done in Mission Impossible before, they wouldn't have let him fucking fly jets in Top Gun. So it definitely has had a huge influence on his career. But which one doesn't earn the praise that it has? We're going to inverse the question this time. It is, what is the most overrated Mission Impossible film? And when you have a franchise in which, I'm just going to say it, 5 of them are positively rated, and Mission Impossible 2 was not given as an answer here tonight. So there were plenty of choices on the table for these guys. Sorry, John Woo. Your other stuff's good. Not that one, though. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the timer back in. Amaru, you are up first this time around once again. So the time is yours when you begin speaking.
Overrated and underrated is some of the hardest things to argue. And my gosh, if you couldn't give us a harder franchise to figure out what is overrated, I don't know what is. Because exactly right. Mission Impossible is 5 for 6. Absolutely 5 for 6. Mission Impossible 2 is rightfully rated as a not good film at all. The last in this entire franchise. And everything else is damn, it's like the greatest action franchise ever. So when it came to this, it was really hard to choose. And God, I was hoping he would have said Mission Impossible 3, because I would have been like, yes, because that is absolutely incorrect. But now he did it. So now I have to tell you why, in the end, after all of this, basically telling you all the ridiculousness that went on in my mind, trying to figure out this really, really difficult question, I ended up going with the movie that is overrated simply because a scene a movie does not make. One of the greatest scenes of all time that is not matched by the rest of the film, but carries its name. I went with Mission Impossible.
All right, and that is time, again, for judges and those at home. Mission Impossible, the OG, is the answer there, just because it was thrown in right at the end. Noah, you are up next, sir. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Just like in the previous question, when you're talking about rating, you have to bring in facts and statistics. And while I hate having to bring in Rotten Tomatoes, I have to for the question. Rotten Tomatoes and many other websites like Variety have Fallout ranked number 1, which is the movie that I chose. This is entirely too high rating for a film that doesn't have any of its stunts in the top 3 action sequences, maybe top 5 action sequences of the franchise. It has an obvious villain and the stakes that make this feel like a Fast and Furious movie. And before Amaru says it, yes, it has an amazing bathroom fight scene, but that's about it in terms of thrilling. These characters are shepherded from one action set piece to the next by way of the plot instead of the action serving the plot. And the plot itself is just so convoluted, confusing, so many double crosses and triple crosses and everything. It's just plain boring, and it makes the action scenes barely watchable. If you want a proper action movie, just go watch Ghost Protocol or Rogue Nation or even Mission Impossible. That's my time.
All right. So it's the start versus the latest. Mission Impossible versus Fallout. I'm going to back over to you, sir. 2 minutes on the... Oh, and for what it's worth, for people watching at home, I'm going to give these guys, just so everyone's clear, Mission Impossible refers to the first one. You guys can just call the last one by Fallout, because if we keep saying Mission Impossible over and over again, it's going to confuse people. So we have Mission Impossible versus Fallout. Rue, when you begin speaking, time is yours.
The scene in Mission Impossible that we all know, it is one of the greatest scenes of all time. It is one of the most tense scenes of all time. It is one of the most greatest things that has been copied from decades and decades and will be copied forever. But everybody wants to make that scene, make Mission Impossible as great as everything as that scene alone is. And again, one scene a movie does not make. That scene is absolutely amazing. The rest of the movie is good, almost great. However, when you look back at it, it doesn't age as well. Some of the visuals don't follow through as a lot of the other 90s films does. You can visibly tell when you already know the predictableness of Jon Voight changing and switching sides at the end and not dying. You can see the hand. When you look at the hand, you're like, oh, of course it's him. When you look at the other twist where the wife is also switching sides and Jean Reno is also switching sides, a lot of that is very predictable and being able to see. You want to talk about no action set pieces at all? Again, the one greatest scene is not really an action set. It's a thrilling set, and then you get the train scene. Mission Impossible Fallout has some of the most iconic action sequences ever. It has the Halo jump, which he did 80 times. And by now, with Mission Impossible, the legend behind the movie is just as important and builds it up because he broke his ankle on that jump. They have a legit helicopter battle. They have a helicopter battle, a real-life helicopter battle that isn't from up in the skies. You are in the helicopter with them. It is absolutely amazing. On top of that, the characters, it has the job of trying to live up to Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation, and it has the second best villain of the entire franchise coming back because he was so good with Sean Harris, and that escape scene is amazing. Every character fits in. You have the stakes with having to go between saving Luther and doing the plutonium, leading to two of the best side new characters in Angela Bassett and Henry Cavill. Freaking Alec Baldwin dies in this. He's a serious character. Fallout is amazing and is perfectly rated as number 1.
And time. All right, we're going to go back over. Noah, 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin dies, and you don't give a shit about his fucking character. You don't give a shit at all. Amaru said it. It has one of the most famous action sequence. I'm getting off topic. I'm going to go back to what I was going to say. This movie has recency bias. Fallout has recency bias, and it's only known for the clout of Tom Cruise breaking his ankle and learning how to fly a helicopter. That's the only reason why people love this movie and are talking about this movie. After watching Top Gun, both Top Guns, by the way, Cruise just feels boring and uninteresting in this. He falls flat and doesn't maybe care about the character at all. His relationship with Ilsa Faust and his ex just feels so bland and boring. The audience has no connection to him or any of the other characters. You aren't scared for Luther when his life is threatened at the beginning of the movie. He's saying, shoot me, shoot me. You don't feel scared at all. That's the problem with this movie. There are no stakes. These characters are not remotely believable as humans. Remember, that's a central rule of Mission Impossible films. So who cares if they fail? There are Fast and Furious levels of surviving action scenes that should kill them, like Tom Cruise getting flung off his motorcycle during that Paris chase, or the Halo dive, or him banging into a wall, or the helicopter chase scene where they literally crash into each other and the helicopters go vertical on a cliff. You know he's going to survive all this. So you aren't worried about him. The characters are closer to plot devices than convincing people. Mission Impossible set the precedent for these films to have these big action sequences, unlike the show, and they actually have them being thrilling and intense, like the scene that Amaru keeps talking about. That scene is known for a reason. It's because it's so good and it's so well done. The team's death in the beginning is so visceral and sets the stakes for the movie that anyone can die. Foul isn't a bad movie, but if you go back and review it, you realize it's not as good as you thought and what everyone keeps saying. 25 years later, movie magic has come far, but Mission Impossible set piece really hasn't been topped in terms of pure ingenuity and suspense. Over time, the Mission Impossible series trademark set pieces would come bigger and louder and more lavish and expensive, but nothing has yet to come close to this topping economical masterclass and dangling white-knuckle delirium. And if you want insane action pieces, again, go to Ghost Protocol, go to Rogue Nation. You get the Burj Khalifa scene, you get the airplane scene. That's all I got to say.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the open discussion. Time starts when you begin speaking.
By the time we hit Fallout, the fact that Tom Cruise did not die on that Burj Khalifa shows us that while all of these stunts are absolutely ridiculous, they actually feel believable because of the way they're shot, the way they're made, and the fact that Tom Cruise is actually doing all these. So it's not Fast Five because we know Cruise is actually doing these things. It's realistic and believable. Baldwin's death actually hits because he's so intricate to the previous movie, and you actually learn to love him. That's why it hits. The stakes at the beginning of the film isn't about Luther's death. It's about the fact that they're losing plutonium, that plutonium is on the line, and the fact that we have Ilsa versus Ethan. That brings the stakes. The fact that we have John Lark being an amazing villain on top of Shawn Harris's character and Angela Bassett going behind him. All the characters are real. All the emotion is real. You bring Julia back in a very realistic way. All of the stakes are realistic. All of the scenes are intense. The action is amazing. There's nothing wrong with this. While Mission Impossible did not set the precedent. Mission Impossible 3 set the precedent because Mission Impossible 3 is an action film, while Mission Impossible is a spy film.
You're exactly right when saying that the real threat is them losing the cores. And in that scene in particular, and multiple scenes show the ineptitude of the team as in general. They show that they're not as smart as they have been shown in previous scenes. And you keep talking about this great villain. Oh, you mean a villain that's going to threaten the entire world with nuclear holocaust, something that we haven't seen before, right? And that we're supposed to be actually scared that there's going to be a nuclear holocaust going on and all these characters are going to die. Would be for sure know for a fact that everyone's going to survive this, that there's not going to be a nuclear holocaust. Tom Cruise is going to somehow, in a fucking helicopter, manage to crash into another helicopter and get the detonator. We know that's all going to happen. There's 16 seconds on a detonator where he's climbing up that cliff, and we're not even concerned in the slightest that he's going to reach it in time. Yes, we get that scene in the end in the shack when Simon Pegg's character is getting choked. We don't feel nervous for him because we know he's going to survive.
We know everybody's going to survive in every action film, especially when we're going to get another one. The fact that we know this is going to happen and we actually feel for all of them. We feel the intensity. It's not ineptitude at the beginning of the film. It's a choice between two impossible choices. That's why it's called Mission Impossible. They start giving you impossible choices. The fact that the original Mission Impossible was followed up by a sequel that could not continue with the spy movie, and they needed Mission Impossible 3 to reboot the franchise, shows that as amazing as everybody believes Mission Impossible, the original one, it is a very, very above average spy film. It is an above average spy film that doesn't age as well, that the twists and turns are extremely predictable from the beginning. The team dying at the beginning, they die so quickly that you don't care as much. You don't care anymore when you go back to it. And every time you go back to these characters that we've known and loved forever and ever and ever for 3 movies that we've had so much connection to, that's why you care. Because you actually have connection to when you go back to Fallout, because you see the intensity. You know how serious Shawn Harris's character is. You know how serious John Lark is. You know how much you don't want them to die, and that's why it's so great. And Fallout lives up to that expectation and higher, while Mission Impossible is overrated because it does not hit as well as it did when we first saw it.
Well, if you're talking about action sequences and all that kind of stuff, the other movies do it better. Ghost Protocol does it better. Rogue Nation does it better. In many sites, it has Mission Impossible fluctuating between 4th or 5th, or even sometimes maybe 3rd of all these movies. But Fallout is a majority of 90% of the time, it's going to be ranked number 1, and it does not deserve that spot. Ghost Protocol or Rogue Nation deserves that spot. We all know that Mission Impossible 2 is the worst. But Mission Impossible is fairly ranked sometimes below Mission Impossible 3 or sometimes above it. It's a good action film that set the precedent. It's got that amazing scene, the vault scene. It's also got the chase scene with the train and the helicopter and all that, and John Voight and all that. The characters are great in that scene. It starts this franchise off.
All right, and that's time. We're going to go ahead and go on to the final minute of the round. Amaru, you are up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
The honesty of the difficulty of this question comes with the fact that 4, 5, and 6 are all absolutely amazing. And if any of them were rated number 1, you are absolutely right. Because you can argue why Rogue Nation, Ghost Protocol, and Fallout are all absolutely amazing. And either one of them would hit the top spot, because that's what made it the absolute best action franchise of all time. None of them would be overrated if any of them were hit as number 1, because they are all just up stakes, up action, up personal relationships, everything up there, Fallout included. Anything in any of those 3 movies makes it number 1. Mission Impossible is considered as one of the best action films, spy films, whatever you want to call it, films of all time. But when you look back at it, it doesn't hold up as well. And what makes me think that Mission Impossible is more overrated than Fallout is when you go back to Fallout, you're just as invested. You're just as entertained. The action sequences will hold up forever. When Mission Impossible originally needed Mission Impossible 3 to reboot the franchise, and Mission Impossible is a spy film that doesn't hold up as well as originally stated, except that scene.
All right, and that is time. Noah, back over to you, sir. You have 1 minute left on the clock when you begin speaking.
Let's talk about these famous action sequences in this film. You have the Halo jump sequence. Isn't really memorable. Doesn't have a lot to do. There's not really a whole lot going on. Oh, Henry Cavill's character lost his air and he has to fix it before landing. That's not really intense. The only really good action sequence in that film is that bathroom fight scene with Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise. And they somehow make Henry Cavill more intimidating than Superman is. But that's literally the only point in that movie where there's a great action sequence. That helicopter chase scene is honestly kind of boring, and the only thing that gives it any relevance or clout is the fact that we know that Tom Cruise is in there. Yes, Tom Cruise does his own stunts, and that's good. It gives the camera work, it makes the camera work great, the cinematography great. But this movie is just severely overrated when you're talking about action pieces, when you're talking about characters and their relationships with each other, when you're talking about plot, when you're talking about the villains in the movie. This is a villain that we've seen before. There's nothing new. Mission Impossible started this franchise off, and it set the precedent that there can be action.
And time. All right, guys, another great round. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back while I bring in the judges. So in terms of fact-checking for this round, really most of it was just related to lists. All sorts of different lists and things were mentioned. So I'll run some of them down. According to our God and Savior of ranking lists, Watch Mojo, Mission Impossible is the second best action franchise of all time. James Bond would be ranked first. This list also includes a top 5 of Die Hard, which I don't agree with at all because half of those are bad, Bourne, and MCU. In terms of talking about Mission Impossible action sequences, there was no consistency in any of the lists that I consulted. All of them somehow managed to pull up different things from different movies. However, what I can say is recurringly, the scenes that showed up from the different films, Fallout had 4 action sequences that showed up recurrently on these lists: the helicopter chase, the bathroom fight, the multi-vehicle chase through Paris, and the Halo jump. And the rooftop run, actually. So that's 5. The first Mission Impossible, however, did have 3 different action scenes that showed up on at least more than one list. Obviously, there is the suspense scene of them breaking into, I believe it was the CIA, if memory serves. There's also the train sequence at the end and the sequence with him in the restaurant with, I believe, Henry Czerny's character when the water tank explodes. That also showed up on more than one list. In terms of ranking the actual movies, according to Rotten Tomatoes, Mission Impossible is ranked 5th with a 66% critic-like rating. Mission Impossible Fallout is first with a 97% critic-like rating. When you go to film and reporting sites, however, the ranking is much more varied. On Den of Geek, the original Mission Impossible is ranked 3rd. Fallout is ranked 2nd. If you go to Entertainment Weekly, Fallout is ranked 3rd. The original is ranked 4th. For Variety, Fallout is ranked 1st. The original Mission Impossible is ranked 4th once again. And for Screen Rant, Mission Impossible is 4th, with Fallout coming 2nd. So the only thing that's consistent amongst those lists is Fallout is considered better than the original Mission Impossible, at least according to different people's opinions. But with that said, Chris, I go over to you as concisely as you can get it for me. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Just to that tough question, one was if we're back and forth. If we're doing a real favor for a little bit, but I think Noah just pulled out the end, like climbing down the answer thing, like how people rate it. Fallout the best and everything. I think Rue just should have counted enough about why the answer thing Fallout better than actually Mission Impossible. I thought Noah just fought in that example and him hammering down on the action thing and Fallout.
Okay, so the first vote goes to Noah. Chad, I go down to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the selling point?
I'm not going to keep anybody in suspense like Amaru made me believe Fallout has a lot of. I went with Amaru. The reason being is because Noah, God bless him, he did the best anyone could probably do to try to take Fallout down, or just a really great movie down in general. And Amaru, I think, did one of the best defenses of like a movie he loves that I've ever seen from a competitor. With Fallout, like I love a lot of Noah had some really good like takedowns on that movie, actually, like where he was talking about like, you don't believe in the stakes, you don't believe in all that stuff, and Amaru had like just right back there, like that they're going to get out of it and you're still invested. That's how good this movie is. And I just with Noah basically saying, because he had a really good point saying it shouldn't be rated higher than the two previous ones. And Amaru was basically like, those three are like, firing on all cylinders. Any of them could be number one. So I just feel like Noah could not really drag down Fallout as much as he wanted to. But Amaru did a good job, I think, saying that people rate Mission Impossible up there with the other ones too, yet it's dated and it's just one scene that's really great, and the rest of the movie doesn't really hold up from the 90s. So,
all right, so it's a 1-1 once again, which means it goes over to me. So here's an interesting fact. I'm completely impartial in this because I've actually never seen any of these movies. Somehow I have missed all 6 of them. I know I'm going to be told I have to see them, and I realize that. Except 2.
You can skip 2.
I've only heard that one's bad, so I'm probably never going to watch that. But with all that said, this was still really, really close because I agree with you. Again, the passion was there. The arguments were there. What broke it for me, though, and I'm going to give my point to Noah on this. What broke it for me is I think Noah did a better job tearing down Fallout as a whole, whereas Amaru's teardowns on the first Mission Impossible were more compared to the fact that it's not in the same genre as the others because it's more of a spy film than it is an action film. Whereas I think Noah defended that movie better as a whole and talked about its plot and why certain things about it do work. Whereas his teardowns on Fallout were more on a whole. And in terms of speaking about it as an action film, I do actually agree with Noah, or I like Noah's point that what builds more suspense into the scenes is the fact that Tom Cruise is doing it. It doesn't always have to necessarily do with what is happening in the film, which I do think is a good point. Even if it makes the viewing experience more enjoyable, this is debate, not watching a movie. Although I do want to go watch those movies after hearing this. So I'm going to go ahead and send you guys to the back and bring the competitors in. We can talk shit about how I've never seen these afterward.
I swear you should have had that shit, but
I got no arguments here on any of these. All 3 have gone either way for me. I had no idea where they're going.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and get into question 4 and see which way this goes. Hey, I can tie it back into Despicable Me again. This one wasn't even on fucking purpose. I can just do it. One of the stars of Minions: The Rise of Gru is Mr. Steve Carell, returning to the role of Gru, reprising the role after appearing in 3 Despicable Me films. I promise this one wasn't on purpose. This is just pure coincidence. We're going to be talking about Steve Carell, and we're going to be talking specifically about, actually, funny enough, the period where the bulk of those Despicable Me movies came out in. So as you guys know, previously on Battleground, we have broken things up into decades. I will often ask people questions about, best film in this decade or worst film in whatever, the 2000s. But certain actors just have these moments where they have a burst of films within, a 4 or 5 year span, 10, 12 films come out in the span of a couple of years. And Mr. Carell had that moment right after he left The Office in the early 2010s. So we're going to limit this question down even further. The question specifically here is, what is the best Steve Carell film released between 2010 and 2014? He had, I believe, between 8 and 10 films. I don't remember the exact number, but I believe it was about that many come out in just those 5 years. I will fact check myself after the fact. But there's a lot of options and a lot of good options to pick from here. And I would argue I have a personal top 3. These guys picked 2 of them. So I'm ready to see who goes with it. Noah, you are up first on this one, so I'll bring the timer in, and it will start when you begin speaking.
When it comes to these type of movies, what is the best Steve Carell film? A lot of people choose to argue the movie rather than the actor's performance. I'm going to do both because when talking about the best actor or actress in movies, Crazy Stupid Love is the answer for both of these questions. It's the most successful rom-com. Most successful rom-coms tend to win off the back of their laughs or their feels. Crazy Stupid Love achieves both of these. And Steve Carell handles both the laughs and the feels. He's aided by a star-studded cast. The movie fires on all cylinders, and everyone has great chemistry with one another. The honesty and the realism in this film makes it stand out as rom-com movies in general, but make it one of Carell's best movies to date. And it's because of his acting in this movie, as well as everyone else's acting, that just make this just a great watch. And I'll concede my 10.
All right. We'll go ahead and move over to Amaru. That is far too much time skip, but I will figure that out behind the scenes. Your timer starts when you begin speak.
Coming of age films can very easily go down cliche roads with really kid-like performances and just cliche things that you don't see. So when you see an amazing coming of age film, it hits so damn hard. And I don't think I've seen a coming of age film that hits harder than The Way, Way Back. The actual realism of the pain that Liam James's character, Duncan, has throughout the film and the story he goes through to going into his own by like really showing the anger he has at Steve Carell's mom's boyfriend character, Toni Collette's character as his mom, to going to this band of misfits where Sam Rockwell is doing Sam Rockwell. But damn it, this is the best Sam Rockwell ever does Sam Rockwell. And since we're talking about Steve Carell is doing something we've never seen. He's making us hate him. And he's doing a damn brilliant job of it. And it is something you've never seen from him. He is so hateable and so unlikable. And you're like, oh my gosh.
And time. All right. We're going to go back over to Noah for Crazy Stupid Love when you begin speaking.
Like I said before, this cast just does an incredible job on their own, but together they create such an interesting and intriguing watch. We've already known that Steve Carell could do comedy and that he can play the good guy, the lovable loser. But this time around, Carell transcends the humor and really becomes Cal. Amaru is trying to say that he becomes an asshole, he becomes this bad guy. Sure, he does, but he's just that flat one-note character. Sure, we laugh for this Crazy Stupid Love. We laugh along the way. Here, however, Carell creates a character who leaves a lasting impression. There are so many little scenes here where you realize why Emily fell in love with him to begin with. Scenes that will most likely leave most women in the audience wishing they could find a man just like Cal. The gift of having Gosling here is that he minds the character of Jacob for so much more than people would have found, creating a rather righteous dude out of what most would have seen as nothing more than a barroom Lothario. Emma Stone is magnetic and charming and funny as she always is. Even side characters like the son Bobo turns the babysitter crush cliche into a rather endearing, bordering on scary Jones for the family babysitter, who happens to have a crush on someone else. Marissa Tomei shows up and at usual steals about every scene she's in. The Way, Way Back is enjoyable, but we have seen this before a few times. Quirky, charming dramedies about awkward, white, privileged, suburban teenage boys coming of age are legion. Every character can be reduced to a simple, short, descriptive noun, just as every emotion is telegraphed with invisible subtitles like, you should feel empathy here. It's more obvious than offensive, although there's a breakdancing kids who respect nerdy teen for trying to learn their funky moves scene that is as cringe-inducing as scenes where Faxon and Rockwell stare at teenage girls' butts. Let's not forget that happened. It's not adorable or funny, but it makes you feel ooky. Rockwell is Rockwell, and he's good. He's engaging as a film's needed comic backbone, and Janny is good as a sprinkle of spice. But Toni Collette is left to flounder in search of a dramatic core, while Carell is fairly one-dimensional as a self-obsessed aggressor. Maya Rudolph as Owen's cohort is largely wasted in the film, and this film is complacently concocted for likability, even as it gives you very little that's real, structured, or spontaneous enough to enjoy.
All right. I'm going to be back over to you, sir, when you begin speaking.
the real strength of the way back is how they take all of these different characters, put them together to make real life, well-rounded group of characters. You get the angry Liam, angry at his mom for leaving his dad, especially for the dick that is Steve Carell throughout the film, and he's playing evil with such loathsomeness and such like hate that you realize why he wants to do that and what that does for you. Him being so unlikable makes the conflict between Liam and his mom who just wants to be happy, but you can see how sad she is. And when Liam and his mom has that much conflict, you are just feel so bad for Toni Collette, because all she wants to do is happy, and she looks happy with Steve Carell's character, but Liam is making it so hard. And then taking that and taking the absolutely awkward, shy, just completely believable Liam James and making the most natural, coming into your own, understanding that you're awkward and you don't fit in, and using that breakdancing sequence to like show that he is completely awkward and he's completely cringy, but people will accept that in this band of misfits, in the funnest band of misfits you have ever seen in your life, that you love them so much that yes, that scene that is borderline sexual harassment, you're like, what is going on? And at the end of that scene, you realize, oh, the girl who's getting looked at, she actually knows and likes and enjoys it, and she's doing it with them because they say, hey, stop doing that, Cole. Those people that you know in your life that take it a step far, but they're actually so lovable and so you want to believe in them so much, which Maya Rudolph's character does for Sam Rockwell, and making that love interest, making him have more depth. Everything on screen absolutely works. Crazy Stupid Love is great. However, the performances in there are either overdrawn and underutilized, and the story just doesn't land at the end. And at the end, when you're like, wait a second, that's all we are left with, there's nothing more to it, it makes everything else seem like, wait, why did I go through all of this? And I'll get to it more later.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get into the open discussion. Time starts when you guys begin speaking.
All right, so Crazy Stupid Love. Here's the deal with Crazy Stupid Love. Especially Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone's performances, who are supposed to be half of the crux of the film. When you meet them, you're like, are they seriously doing this? Is Ryan Gosling trying to put on a New York boy accent that weirdly goes away towards the end of the film? Is he seriously this misogynistic and womanizing? Emma Stone, her awkward, weird shtick goes a little bit too far. And when you finally start to see the points where they're actually reining it back and you're getting to enjoy them, they're gone for 30 to 40 minutes at a time. For Steve Carell, we have seen in every single other Steve Carell movie that we have seen. And while you're engaged into the story and you want to see how the divorce ends in Crazy Stupid Love, and how the Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone's too little seen romance comes together, it ends in a really cheesy graduation speech that is like, wait a second, this is where we're going? He's really going to stop this scene? He's really going to stop this graduation speech right here with this? This doesn't make sense. Where's the rest of the movie where the way back actually brings everybody together to make a great ensemble piece of different characters in two different groups that really shows why coming-of-age movies are so believable and so relatable?
Well, you're talking about the ending doesn't make any sense, but the ending does make sense because throughout the entire movie, you were getting all these little strings in this movie. You're getting all these characters with their own little stories. And at the end, the movie does a great job of it coming together, and it ends up just being a web of articulate plot that makes for a really relatable and enjoying watch. And that ending is the perfect ending for that movie. You see Steve Carell's character thinks of Ryan Gosling's character dating his daughter. Oh, he can't do this because he is a sleazebag. He goes around dating other women because he's taught me how to do this. But that, in fact, is just showing what Ryan Gosling's character thinks of himself. Hey, I think of myself as a sleazy guy, but I'm trying to settle down here. I'm trying to be with a woman. I'm trying to be a good man. And Ryan Gosling portrays that perfectly. And you're talking about...
keep going.
You're talking about this being cliche. Your movie is absolutely more cliched than mine. It's a white boy, about an awkward white boy who's angry. Tell me what teenage movies have you seen with white boy not being angry? you're talking about the coming into your own and the victories that he has, but his victories over, or Krell's character over his fear of girls, of people, come easy and hollow, and they add up to little to nothing. And by the end of the movie, he explodes at his mom. What does that get him? His mom's upset now. She's even sadder than what she was. And they go off separate ways with the guy. That's the ending.
The ending of this movie is to show, again, how to come into your own, no matter what you're doing. This kid is so angry and awkward because divorce is that relatable, and kids get that angry about it. But the awkward kids don't come out of their shell. They usually come out of the shell becoming a different person. What Liam ends up doing is coming out of themselves as himself, as his own person, because Sam Rockwell is so relatable in terms of he is his own extremely flawed person, but has the heart and has that thing that everybody loves. So being himself and choosing his own path, which is a key quote in that film, is exactly what Liam's character does. He chooses his own path without becoming a completely different person. The mom ends up coming into her own, showing that that with her son blowing up at her, she needs to choose herself. While in Crazy Stupid Love, I'm a teacher. Ain't no father going to step in front of a kid who was doing a speech that would have never been okayed by a school. That ending should not have been the ending. The scene before in the backyard either should have been an ending and a conversation afterwards, not that stupidity that left you felt like a little hollow.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 1 minute closings. Noah, you are up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I haven't even begun to mention kind of Steve Carell acting in this. What I'm trying to argue here is that Crazy Stupid Love is better in the fact that it's a better movie, but also Steve Carell's performance in it is better than Way Back. And Way Back, yes, he's this asshole, something we haven't seen before. He's this huge, complete evil asshole who's cheating on his mom. But that's it. That's one note. He's a dick to Liam. That's pretty much it. He's hooking up with this other woman. He's friends with these other rich people. That's it. In Crazy Stupid Love, we see this man who's defeated by this divorce and who needs help, and Ryan Gosling's willing to help him. You get those typical Steve Carell moments, but you get some really heartwarming moments with him. You get some really emotional moments with him. And Gosling and Steve Carell just play off each other, and Gosling and Emma Stone and Marissa Tomei and Steve Carell and that girl from Golden Circle that I can't remember the name of always. I can't remember the name of her always, but they just bounce off each other so perfectly in a story that's written amazingly, and the comedy is just perfect.
And time. All right. Amaru, back over to you for the final minute of the round, sir.
The Way Back is about a angry son and her mother, and then the angry son meeting this kind of wayward, awkward, very flawed individual and their relationships. And the reason why Steve Carell is so one note is because we need his absolutely deliciously evil one note to bring about the flaws and the coming together of mom and son, and the flaws and the coming together of this extremely powerful, because he's flawed in himself, character, allowing this young boy who's also, again, kind of addicted to his mom sometimes, but reasonably angry, becoming his own self and not changing his person and accepting his flaws. That's what that is for, to bring them together. Crazy Stupid Love is supposed to be about these two different dudes coming together, and Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone disappear for 30 to 40 minutes of the movie. So you're like, where are they? Where's that side of it? And the ending is so unbelievable that you're like, wait a second, why didn't you go a different route to end this film? Why are we ending on this cheesy thing where the rest of the movie was told so well, and it left you flat and it left you hollow while Way Back did?
All right. We're going to go ahead and go to the judges. Thank you, guys. I'll go ahead and sit you in the back. There's not a lot here to fact check with this one. The only thing is at the start. So again, I pick questions like this for a reason. It's only because if there's enough options. From 2010 to 2014, Steve Carell had 12 films come out. Some of those films include both Despicable Me movies, Date Night, Dinner for Schmucks, Crazy Stupid Love, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, Hope Springs, one of our judges mentioned in the chat, The Incredible Wonderstone, The Way Back, Anchorman 2, Alexander, and the I'm not reading that long ass title, and Foxcatcher. Also, for what it's worth, The Way Back is also probably the first movie in which we saw Steve Carell play a dick. However, that would most definitely be topped in Foxcatcher. You don't get that guy. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the judges. Chad, as concise as you can get it for me, who gets your vote and what was the selling point?
Absolutely. I went with Amaru this time. I feel like he just had way more takedowns on Crazy Stupid Love, talking about characters are missing for large portions of the movie, and then the ending isn't great. Even though Noah, I think, tried to defend the ending. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I didn't totally understand everything about the ending. But I know Amaru was very passionate about something bad with the teacher that happened, I feel like, Noah trying to go and say that it's similar to every other coming of age where a white boy is angry. Like, I get that. That's a good point. But I feel like Amaru was able to, prop the movie up, saying why it's actually more nuanced. Steve Carell plays against type in it. And even though he may be a little one note, that's kind of used really well for the actual movie and characters to have their growth. So Amaru got my point.
Okay, Chris, down to you. Who gets your vote and what sold you?
Yeah, this is tough. As someone who loved both of the movie, and these were both great arguments. It was back and forth. I think, despite I don't entirely agree with him about the ending, really wanted for me. I think he brought up good counter argument against Crazy Stupid Love. He was great example of his movie about Sequel, the kid, Sam Walker, all of their arc. I thought was really good argumentary, and we wanted.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you both in the back, and I will bring the competitors back in.
Since I won the point already, I'll let you know this. I didn't believe a word I just said. And I did not think I was winning that shit.
I kept forgetting the plot of Crazy Stupid Love, so,
Oh,
these guys are tired. They've given it their all. They're allowed to have one. All right.
Hey, you cursed
still a
me. You cursed me. We have to go to a blind round now.
Every time. Every single time.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Here's how this works. For the blind round, the competitors are going to be receiving a question. They have no indication as to what it is, where it'll go. It'll be just, they will be given a prompt. There's another added layer to the blindness, though, if this is your first time seeing it. Competitors are going to be giving a general prompt. They are going to be asked to name something very generic. My classic example has been name me a Will Smith movie, although that has aged rather poorly given not so recent events. Then once they submit an answer, they will be given the question. Whether or not they agree or disagree with the prompt, they will have to do their best to argue the question. We've seen it before plenty of times. The not so correct answer has won. Amaru, you have one of the best examples of that in history, in my opinion, with the Sam Jackson question. I have to shout it out. No, nothing personal, man. You have good luck. But that was terrible. I'm sorry.
No, I feel like he's a pretty good blind round win percentage, so I'm kind of screwed here.
Hey, you never know. With that said, the actual debate round is going to go exactly as it did before, and these guys will get a couple minutes to put something together. They're not going to be forced to fight it alone. But with that said, are you guys both ready?
Unfortunately.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put the prompt up on screen and read it. After that, just go ahead and give me your answer. The order you answer in is the order you will go in. Gentlemen, your blind round prompt is: name me a Jurassic Park World film.
Jurassic World.
Okay. Just, Amaru, you are muted. That's fine if what you're thinking, but when you go to answer.
Lost World. Lost
All
World.
right. Jurassic World versus The Lost World. Jurassic Park. All right. So, in honor of what I believe we all unanimously agreed on earlier, Dominion is not. The question is, what is the best film of the Jurassic franchise? All right. So these guys are going to get a couple of minutes backstage to put their arguments together, but you watching, you get 20 seconds of elevator music. We'll be right back with the blind round. guys, and we are back and ready to get into the blind round. If anybody needs a reminder from 20 seconds ago, I would consult your local doctor. But the question at hand is, what is the best film of the Jurassic franchise? The competitors were just simply asked to name one within the franchise. Noah gave Jurassic World. Amaru gave The Lost World Jurassic Park. Noah, because you answered first, you will be going first. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the timer, and it will start ticking when you begin speaking. I do just want to say before we get going, gentlemen, this has been one of the best matches that I have seen in a while, so best of luck to both of you. May the better man win.
I think it's very safe to say that no Jurassic Park World movie is going to reiterate the same magic and emotion that the first one had. But there's one movie that does sort of come closer to the others, and that's going to be Jurassic World, the reboot. It retreads a lot of what we saw in the first one, but we get cooler scenes, not from the first one, but we do get some cool scenes in this film, like the raptor training, the Indominus Rex scenes where, oh my God, he's hiding in his cage, and that whole escape is kind of terrifying. The horror when the dinosaur talks to the raptors. You get all these kind of interesting scenes that we haven't seen in Jurassic Park film before. And you do have charismatic characters in this film, while in my opponent's film, Lost World, you really don't. And you lose the magic that you had from the first one. And because that first one was so good, the second one just dropped off and was just horrible.
And time. All right, we're going to go over to Amaru. Time starts when you begin speaking.
What makes us fall in love with Jurassic Park and this Jurassic Park franchise, and why they keep getting movies? What makes the best versions and the best entries in this franchise is you utilize having the absolutely most likable characters in some of film history with great chemistry to allow yourself to sit back and enjoy low-key ridiculous, but absolutely entertaining dinosaur escaping from dinosaurs. That's what we want. And if we get a great story on top of that, it is great. But what we want from that Jurassic Park films are these characters we absolutely fall in love with escaping dinosaurs. It's entertaining. It's absolutely amazing. And the Lost World Jurassic Park does that in spades. On the back of the absolute best character in the entire franchise in Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm. He's absolutely amazing, and that's why they gave him this film to make it the best film in the franchise.
All right, that'll be time. We're going to go on to the 2 minutes. Noah, you are up first.
I want you to tell me what characters you love in this movie and which ones you're really rooting for, because the only one you really love and care about is maybe even Malcolm. And he's kind of middling in this movie compared to the first Jurassic Park. Obviously, everything's going to be better in Jurassic Park, but we really don't give a crap about any of these characters. They throw in a child in there for some reason, and she does this dumbass gymnastic kick against a raptor, which that would totally work, right? That's one of the most laughable scenes in the entire movie. This film is so slow. The first act of exposition, it takes close to 50 minutes. There's missing scenes about the majesty of dinosaurs. That's what these movies are about, the majesty of these dinosaurs and kind of the horror that comes with them. They do the same T-Rex scene in this film from Jurassic Park, except now there's two dinosaurs, two T-Rexes, and they're coming after their child. Granted, Jurassic World does the same thing. You get that same fight, like a T-Rex fight at the end, but now it's the T-Rex that has come full circle and is now kind of the hero against this Indominus Rex Indominus Rex. And you get that kind of unseen moment where I don't know the names of these dinosaurs, but that water dinosaur comes up and just snatches the Indominus Rex and takes it in. You get that moment where the raptors team up with the T-Rex to take down this one, and it's just a great scene. You get that emotion between God damn, I forgot his name, Chris Pratt's character and Blue. You get the emotion between those two characters, and one was a dinosaur who can't speak at all. And I think that's great props to the animators as well, because again, the first movie is great because of the actual effects that they did. This movie is good with its CGI. It's not going to be as good as practical effects, but the CGI is pretty good because you get that emotion between Chris Pratt and the other dinosaurs. You get the interaction between Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt. That's just so much fun to watch as well. And that's my time.
All right. I'm going to be back over to you, sir.
They gave the best character in the entire franchise, Ian Malcolm, his own movie because it's Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum is never not entertaining, and what they do to make it even better is they actually take a group of supporting cast to elevate him. You start off with Vanessa Chester, his child, and the conversations they have at the beginning, calling her babysitter a troglodyte, shows that she got the wit and the charm from her father and makes her interesting and makes her believable as her child. Even though she's Black, you fall in love with her because you see, oh, I can see how you're his child. Then you take the only actress who could probably match the sass and control of the scene with Jeff Goldblum, and that's Julianne Moore. When she comes in and you get the scene with the Stegosaurus and the way she's able to just talk about come up with things with her how fearless she is going up against the Stegosaurus, and the thing with her backpack makes her says, oh, okay, I see why they fell in love. Then you got Nick Van Owen, which is the character's name, and Richard Schiff, which is the playing Eddie Carr, as two side characters going next to them, where the conversations about Nick Van Owen being in Greenpeace and being the spy in there makes him lovable, and the way that Richard Schiff characters comes in and saves them from the falling tractor when they try to save the baby makes you fall in love with him. And then on the other side, you have Roland Tembo, played by Pete Postlethwaite, who's actually one of the greatest villains, one of the greatest lines. He's the guy who's supposed to come in and take advantage of these dinosaurs, but you see the respect he gives them. You see at the end when he's told to come to San Diego and work for InGen, he's like, I've been in the company of, I've spent enough time in the company of death, and it's so powerful. You said it with Jurassic World. It's a retread of everything that is done better in previous ones. And with all the Jurassic Park franchises, they do ridiculous things. In Lost World, they do ridiculous things, but you love the character so much, you're in for the ride. Claire and Owen are two of the least chemistry-filled characters in any Jurassic World movie. They have no chemistry, no charisma. She's running in heels in the entire movie, and it doesn't make sense.
And that is time. All right, we're going to go ahead and go into the open discussion period. Time starts when the first person speaks.
You say the best character is Ian Malcolm. That's completely wrong, because the next movie asked for Jurassic Park is devoid of Dr. Grant and Ellie Sattler, and it's easily probably one of the worst films in that trilogy, even with the other Jurassic World ones, because you get rid of those two characters who are very important to the chemistry and the plot of the movie. And Ian Malcolm is supposed to just carry this movie on his own, and he tries to, and it just fails. It just fails. The wit and charm, that doesn't win against dinos. You brought that up with that girl. That's not going to win against dinos. You're not here to see wit and charm. You're here to see dinos kind of killing people, and the majesty of these creatures in general. And The Lost World just gets rid of that. It's entirely too long. You have that a really long ending of now the T-Rex is in the world now, and it doesn't feel real authentic as the first one did, while Jurassic World tries to recreate that, and yes, it retreads a lot of the same stuff, but you are renewed with that sense of majesty and that sense of wonder.
Who do they need to bring back first from the original trio in the new movies? They needed to bring back Ian Malcolm first, from bringing back all three. Jeff Goldblum never fails, never wins. You want to talk about the action sequences and things that you want to see in a Jurassic Park film? The compies chew up a little girl at the beginning of the film. They come back and absolutely kill Peter Stormare as Dieter character. Outside of the kitchen scene, the best raptor scene is the one where there's the tall grass and you're seeing people fall, wondering where they're coming from. That chase scene when Roland Tembo comes in and knocks down every single character makes it absolutely great. And it has everything you want in a Jurassic Park film because you love each and every single character. Jurassic World has so many things that does not make sense. And usually you can let that slide. except when you don't care about the characters you're running into. Chris Pratt is just playing the regular old Navy, trying to be the broke down Indiana Jones. I don't know what Bryce Dallas Howard is doing. You are looking at us like, why are you stealing heels? Who are you trying to connect to? You don't like her at all. So when it comes to from there, you don't connect to any characters. Vincent D'Onofrio doing his version of a militaristic Dennis Nedry to take advantage of it, and he is so stereotypical. You take Vincent D'Onofrio and make him stereotypical. So by the time you're getting to the points where there is a dinosaur that is somehow silent, comes out and surprises people, as big as the not Indominus, but the camouflaging one. You're like, how the fuck is that possible? And then it just gets straight up evil. The way that they kill, I think her name is Katie McGrath. They take her and then they drop her and then they pick her up again and then they drown her. You're like, why are you doing this? This is poor woman. It just makes no sense, and it's a retread, and it's a lesser film than what came before it.
There's no thoughtfulness, no morale, or scientific analysis that made Jurassic Park unique as an escapist adventure in the Lost World. There's none of that to be seen. You're talking about no chemistry, no connection. You really care for Chris Pratt. Like you see him, this interesting character who is training raptors. Dinosaurs you're supposed to be scared of. You've been trained to be terrified of them, and now he's training them like dogs, which is a fascinating idea because they're still violent animals. They're still volatile. And you're talking about the scene with the raptors running through the tall grass. You get that amazing scene with Chris Pratt and those dinos where they break out and they're running side by side each other and they're hunting, and it's incredible. And that scene is turned on its head when that Indominus starts talking to him. You get that banter between Claire and Chris Pratt, and it's just so much fun to watch those two characters go back and forth. You got 10 tickets if you want it.
You don't care about Owen because this chemistry with the other characters, especially Claire, which you're supposed to connect to, never hits.
And time. All right, guys, 1 minute left on the round. Noah, you are up first, sir. Time starts when you begin speaking.
He brought up the scene with the babysitter and that she was getting picked up and dropped and picked up and dropped. That was fucking hilarious. I don't know about you, but I laughed during that, and that's entirely what it was supposed to do. Yes, it's a retread. This movie is a retread, but it captures that magic that you had from the first one. Not entirely, but it captures enough of that to make this such an enjoyable watch and a fun watch. And new talent like Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard make this even more of a fun watch. The dinosaurs that they have in this, the interactions with the dinosaurs, the gyro ball that they have to go exploring is unique technology, and it's fun to watch on the screen. There's nothing fun to watch about this kid doing a gymnastic move to kick a raptor. That's pretty much it. You get a stereotypical villain, I guess, in that hunter who wants to hunt a T-Rex, and that's his only payment that he wants. You get that scene with the T-Rex coming into the real world, and they hardly do anything with that. They could have made it such a bigger thing, such a crazier thing, like, oh my God, dinosaurs are in this world now. Oh wait, they made a movie about it, and it didn't do good.
All right, ending on subliminal shots there. Amaru, I'm going to go back over to you. You got 1 minute left on the clock. Time begins when you start speaking.
The Lost World did Jurassic World Dominion better than Dominion ever did with the San Diego scene, especially kicking off with the great line, now you're John Hammond. It has so many great quotes like that and so many great characters, which makes the unbelievability of other kind of ridiculous things fun and enjoyable. Jurassic World is not fun. It's not enjoyable. It doesn't make sense. How do you make that tall ass and big ass dinosaur so silent? That doesn't work. How can you run the entire movie in hills? That doesn't work. Again, seeing the T-Rex against the main villain, we've seen that already. It's a retread. They're stereotypical. So every time when you don't care about the relationship between Owen and Claire, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do this the entire time to make the Raptors do that. You don't care. If you cared about them, then it would work. The Lost World makes you care about the characters first. It gives you that first half to get you to understand how that is his child, how that is the girlfriend he likes, how they're going to come together to make everything else more fun, more believable, and more entertaining.
And time. All right, we're going to go ahead and send these guys to the back. Well done, gentlemen, on a great game. I'm going to go ahead and bring the judges in. All right. So in terms of fact checks, nothing too heavy here. So for starters, the reason that Jeff Goldblum is the lead of The Lost World is because the book that it is based on, The Lost World, has Ian Malcolm return as the leading character. That is something they took directly from the book, hence why he is in it. The dinosaur that helped kill the Indominus Rex is the Mosasaurus. That is the big thing in the fish tank that jumped up and ate him. It was later said by Amaru, but the character that Chris Pratt portrays is named Owen Grady. In The Lost World Jurassic Park, for those curious, the character of Nick Van Owen is portrayed by Vince Vaughn. Yes, Vince Vaughn has been in a Jurassic Park movie, if you have not seen that movie. And then finally, Jeff Goldblum, talking about his importance to the franchise, if you count cameos, is actually the most recurring character in the franchise, with 5 appearances, 4 physical appearances in the films, and a cameo through a picture on a book cover in Jurassic World. If we want to take that out, then he is tied for the most appearances, as both him and actor B.D. Wong have appeared in 4 films apiece. So with that said, Chris, I'm going to go to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
So this is a tricky battle. Good debate. I kind of with Rue at the end. I just thought he hit on so many things in Lost World. Took down Jurassic World a lot better beyond Claire Owen for the ridiculousness, and he managed to defend Lost World pretty well. So he won in the end for me.
Okay. And Chad, I go down to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Well, I just want to say Rue and Noah, both fantastic this entire match, neck and neck, a lot closer than Noah at first thought it was going to be each round. But with this, I thought both players did a really good job of putting up great points for their movie, and against the other movie, it was really neck and neck in that way. However, I think I went with Amaru because Noah, I think, made a critical mistake here and I just realized this, like in the middle of the debate, I was like, wait, Noah's not even saying that his movie is the best of the franchise. He keeps comparing it to the original Jurassic Park and saying nothing will ever come close to that. And then I'm like, well, is it fair to say, like, but like Amaru is over here basically saying that, his movie is the best, and he didn't even really start talking about Jurassic Park until he capitalized on that mistake that Noah made, what I think was a mistake, by saying that it is just Jurassic World is just a retread of that original movie that Noah really wanted to talk about, was Jurassic Park. But Rue also really made me want to kind of revisit The Lost World, because I haven't seen it in a long time. So, I went with Rue on this one.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you both in the back because your winner by a final score of 3-2, it is Amaru Moses coming in with the victory. Rue, that's 2 back-to-back wins for you, 2 back-to-back blind round wins. You cannot get an easy match here, man. How are you feeling?
I think this is the best debate in TMG I've been a part of. Point blank period. I let my feelings be known at the end of all these things. And legitimately, any outcome I would have agreed with. If Noah got the KO, I would have agreed with it. If I got the KO, I would have agreed with it. If he beat me 3-1, it didn't matter because every single round we did was that close. Noah did absolutely amazing this one. I would not have faulted anybody in picking either of us in any of our debates. I legit thought I lost it after losing Mission Impossible. Because that crazy stupid love one, I was fighting the most uphill battle I have fought in a long, long time. And I was like, well, I lose here. Sure, I get it. This was an amazing match. Noah, all power to you, man. You killed this. It was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. And unfortunately, the road doesn't get any easier for you because in the next round of the tournament, I'd pull up the bracket, but unfortunately, I have the wrong version here in StreamYard. That's preparedness right there. You are going to be playing the person who comes in at the number 3 seed in this tournament, which seems a little off because he is the former champion of Movie Battleground, making his return after losing the title to Henry Sanchez. You are playing Joe Farrelly, someone who you have a history with and always. Obviously, you guys are friends. You guys, I believe, used to be teammates for TMG. You guys played the first TMG title match over in Kevin's league. And you guys have played Battleground before in previous iterations that I was not there to bear witness to, although I look forward to this. So how are you feeling?
We're going to have a blind round again. That's what's going to happen. The last time we saw each other, it was a 2-2 tie, and he barely beat me on a speed round question. And look, I'm used to it now. It's just this is how this is always going to go, apparently. So I'm fully prepared to go another one. But I love playing Joe in anything and everything. So I know it's going to be drag out, knockout, whatever the damn saying is. I am looking very much forward to that.
Absolutely, man. Well, I look forward to having you back. So we will see you next time, sir. Take care. I'll go ahead and sit you in the back and bring in Noah. And man, I'm not calling you a loser tonight. You said at the start of this match, you didn't really care if you won or lost. Your litness was the performance that you put in tonight. And despite the fact that it was a losing effort, I would argue it's your best performance so far, man. I agree with everything he just said. Everything was back and forth. It could have gone either way. I know for myself, judging the points, everything was split by, like, in terms of points made, like a point or two. So how are you feeling after that, all things considered?
You know, I feel better about losing this match than I did winning my last match. So I felt like I really brought it, and I feel like you said, I felt like I played my best here, and against a top tier competitor, like I'm not mad with the outcome at all. I feel really good. I'm glad I got those 2 points in, and like I want to see where I can go from this. You know, I want to see how much more I can grow, and it was great to play against Amaru. He's Amaru. I keep mispronouncing it. I'm sorry, but he's such a good competitor, and he really brought it, and I'm glad he did, and he showed me what a really good match could be. So hats off to him. He's going to have a hell of a time against Joe, and Joe's going to have a hell of a time against him. It's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, so in terms of when you'll appear next, right now there's nothing on the docket necessarily. Obviously, unfortunately, you are out of this tournament at this point. With the 2-3 record, unfortunately, unless we have a couple of people turn it down, we are planning on doing something at the end of the year, some form of a tournament. Battleground always has, so something will happen. But the odds of you being in that are a little lower. But you are 2-3. You do have a knockout. So of all the players that are in the negative, so to speak, you are definitely one of the best up there. So I'll be sure to get you back as soon as we can. Is there anyone who interests you personally that you can think of offhand that you would like to see yourself play off against?
You know, our records might not match at all. And I feel like he'd probably mop the floor with me because he's a very good competitor. But it's my now teammate, good old Chad Webb, who you guys saw here today. I feel like that would be a really fun watch and a really good match. So I have my eyes on him. I know our records don't really indicate that right now. So hopefully maybe sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Potentially, man. Well, again, a great performance tonight. Nothing to hang your head about. But I will sit you in the back, and we will see you next time that you are here. And guys, once again, another incredible match in the Battleground. These guys have absolutely brought it. And that is going to do it for round number 1 of this tournament. We had 11 players. The first 6 of them have played into the next round. And now we have the kind of rest of the competitors going up against those play-in competitors. And you have some great matches to look forward to. As I said, every single Saturday, we are going to have one of these matches go up. So over the next 4 Saturdays, next week, coming off of, he suffered a KO loss, then he took a KO victory. Kevin Poss will be taking on the number 1 seed who subbed in for Mr. Chad Webb, who had to give up his spot due to his number 1 contendership, Will Cohen. The following week, we have a rematch of the ages in Mehdi Raymond taking on Jeremy Adams. They just naturally got paired up, so we're going to get to see that one again. The week after that, we have Jake Reese makes his return, looking to get his first win against Alec Miller, who just came off of a KO victory. And then the week after, Joe Farrelly takes on Amaru Moses. Guys, it is going to be an excellent lineup, and that's in addition to all the regular matches we have going up every week. So be sure to tune in, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time on the Movie Battleground. Take care, everybody.